AITA for revealing I paid off my mom's tax debt after she mocked me at dinner? I'm Jasmine, 35, the older daughter in a family that treated me like the emergency contact they were allowed to insult once the emergency was over. My younger sister Madison is 32, and if you ask my parents, she was the daughter who made them proud. She was the one in the framed photos on the mantle, the one my mom tagged in long holiday posts, the one my dad bragged about to anyone who stood still long enough. Madison was sweet in public. She hugged relatives first, remembered birthdays when people were watching, and knew how to tilt her head like every conversation was a heartfelt moment. I was the daughter they called when something had gone wrong. When my dad ignored an insurance letter until it became urgent, I handled the phone calls. When my mom had a hospital bill she didn't understand, I sat at my kitchen table with a highlighter and figured out what was actually owed. When Madison borrowed money she couldn't pay back, my mom would whisper, "Please don't make this harder on your sister. She's under a lot of stress." In our family, help only counted if Madison did it in public. If I did it quietly, it disappeared by dinner. For years, I let it happen because I thought being dependable would eventually mean something. I wasn't expecting a parade. I just thought one day my parents would stop acting like I was the problem while calling me every time they needed a problem solved. That day never came. The biggest problem was the family property. My mom called it the legacy home. Even though the paperwork was a mess, the taxes were behind more than once, and every conversation about it turned into someone sighing about family history. My dad liked to talk about it like it proved he had protected something important. Madison talked about it like it was already hers. She posted about preserving the family legacy, with old photos and captions about roots and responsibility. Relatives commented with hearts and little prayer hands. My mom replied, "So proud of the daughter who understands what matters." I saw those posts while remembering the night my mom called me crying, because the county had sent a notice about an overdue property tax lien. That call came almost 3 years before the birthday dinner. It was late after 10 p.m., and I almost didn't answer because I knew my mom only called that late for 2 reasons: medical panic or money panic. "Jasmine," she said, breathless, "please don't be upset. That was never a good start." "What happened?" She sniffed. "Your father is beside himself. He can't even talk right now." In the background I could hear my dad muttering, "Don't make it sound like that." My mom lowered her voice like I was the embarrassing one. "There's a problem with the property taxes." "How big of a problem?" Silence. "Mom." She finally gave me the number. It wasn't a small number. It was the kind of number that made me sit down at my kitchen table and stare at the wall. Then she said the part that made everything worse. Madison was supposed to move money back into the account before the deadline. I closed my eyes. "What does that mean?" "It was only supposed to be temporary," Mom said quickly. "She had expenses. She thought she could replace it. You know your sister. She means well. She used the property tax money?" "Don't say it like that." "How else should I say it?" My mom started crying harder. "Please, Jasmine. If your aunt finds out, your father will never recover from the shame. People will think we're irresponsible. They'll think Madison is responsible for what she did. She made a mistake." I remember sitting there with the glow of my laptop lighting up the table, opening the county payment portal while my mother begged me not to tell anyone. Madison was apparently too overwhelmed to talk. My dad was too embarrassed to get on the phone. So it landed on me, the difficult daughter, the negative one, the one who supposedly never understood family. I paid the lien and the legal fee attached to it because my mother kept saying the family would lose the property if it wasn't handled quickly. I didn't pay it because I wanted control. I didn't pay it because I wanted the house. I paid it because I believed, stupidly maybe, that saving the property mattered to all of us. A title attorney named Carla later prepared a reimbursement agreement. It wasn't dramatic. It was just paperwork saying I had paid the lien and certain related fees, and that I would be reimbursed before any clean transfer of the property. My dad signed it. My mom acknowledged it in an email. I saved everything because I had learned the hard way that in my family, if there wasn't proof, it didn't happen. First, my parents acted grateful. My mom texted, "I don't know what we would do without you. Please don't tell Denise. Your father is humiliated." My dad texted, "We'll make it right. Just need time." Madison sent me one voicemail. Her voice was soft and shaky, the way she sounded when she wanted sympathy. Jazz, please don't tell Tyler. His family thinks I'm financially stable. I know I messed up, but I can fix it. I just need everyone not to make me the villain. I didn't tell Tyler. I didn't tell Aunt Denise. I didn't tell anyone. That silence was my mistake. Because over the next couple of years the story changed. Madison started being called the daughter who had stepped up. My mom told relatives Madison was taking responsibility for the property because she had always had the most heart for it. My dad made little jokes about me being too busy or too dramatic to care about family things. And if I pushed back even slightly, I got accused of keeping score. One Thanksgiving, Aunt Denise said, "You know, Jasmine, it's nice that Madison is helping your parents with the house. Not everybody wants that responsibility." I looked at my mother. She looked down at her plate. Madison gave me a sweet little smile over her cranberry sauce. I should have corrected it then. Instead, I said nothing because the table was full and I was tired. That became the pattern. They took my silence and built a whole version of me out of it. I was selfish. I was bitter. I was jealous. I didn't contribute. I only showed up when something benefited me. And Madison, who had used the tax money in the first place, became the responsible daughter protecting the family legacy. Then a few weeks before my mom's birthday, I got an email from Carla's office. The subject line was, "Draft Release and Transfer Documents." I opened it while standing at my kitchen counter, still in the middle of making coffee. The message was polite and professional. Carla said she had been asked to circulate documents for the proposed property transfer to Madison. She needed me to review the attached release. I clicked the attachment. The first time I read it, I thought I had misunderstood. The second time I felt my face go cold. The release said I acknowledged I had no remaining financial interest in the property and waived any reimbursement claim connected to prior tax payments, lien payoff, legal fees, or related property expenses. They weren't asking me to sign a family formality. They were asking me to erase the only paper trail that proved I had ever helped. I called my mom. She answered in that bright, fake voice she used when she already knew she had done something wrong. "Hi, sweetheart. What is this release Carla sent me?" A pause. "Oh, that. It's just paperwork. It says I'm waiving reimbursement." "Well, we can't move forward with Madison taking over if there are old complications." "Old complications? You mean the lien I paid?" My mother sighed. "Jasmine, don't turn this into a money thing. It became a money thing when you asked me to pay it. That's not fair." "What part?" She lowered her voice. "Your sister deserves one happy thing. She has worked so hard for this." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so familiar. Madison created the crisis, I paid for it, and somehow Madison deserved peace from the consequences. "I'm not signing that without having my own attorney review it," I said. My mom's tone sharpened. "Please don't embarrass this family." That was the first time I understood they weren't nervous about the paperwork. They were nervous about the truth. 2 days later, Aunt Denise forwarded me screenshots from a family group chat I wasn't in. She didn't add much, just, "You should know what's being said." The chat was called Mom's 60th, and apparently the birthday dinner had become more than a dinner. Madison had written, "Jasmine is already trying to make Mom's birthday about herself. She's holding up the house stuff even though she never contributed a dime." My mom replied with a heart emoji. My dad wrote, "Jasmine always needs control. We'll handle her at the dinner." A cousin sent, "Classic Jasmine." Madison added, "If she starts acting unstable, just don't feed into it. She hates when good things happen to me." I stood there reading the screenshots in my hallway with my coat still on. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was embarrassment. Not because they were right, but because I realized how many people had been hearing this version of me while I was still protecting them. Then I saw one more message from Madison. "Carla will be there after dessert. Mom thinks if everyone is present, Jasmine won't make a scene and will just sign." That was when the whole dinner clicked into place. It was not just my mom's 60th birthday. It was a staged pressure campaign with sheet cake. I called Carla's office the next morning. I kept my voice calm because Carla was not my enemy. "I need to understand exactly what I'm being asked to sign," I said. Carla was careful. I can't advise you personally, but the release would waive your reimbursement claim and allow the transfer to proceed without that issue attached. So if I sign, I'm saying I have no remaining claim. Yes. And without my signature? The parties can still discuss options, but Madison would not receive a clean title with that unresolved claim in place. I took notes even though my hand was shaking. I want your file to reflect that I have not agreed to sign anything at the birthday dinner, I said. I will not sign any release without independent legal review. Carla paused. Understood. That same week the pressure got worse. My mom texted, "Please don't start anything tonight. Your sister deserves peace." My dad texted, "Bring your ID for the notary. Don't make this weird." Madison texted me privately, "If you bring up old money stuff at Mom's birthday, everyone will see exactly who you are." I wrote back, "I will not sign anything tonight." She answered, "Of course. Always about control." For once I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain. I didn't send paragraphs trying to make her understand. Madison didn't misunderstand me. None of them did. They understood perfectly. They were counting on me caring more about their comfort than my own name. So I prepared. I printed the wire confirmation for the tax lien payoff. I printed the reimbursement agreement with my dad's signature. I printed my mother's texts begging me not to tell Aunt Denise. I saved Madison's voicemail and printed the transcript where she said Tyler couldn't find out she had used the tax money. I printed the group chat screenshots Aunt Denise had sent me. I redacted account numbers. I organized everything into a folder with tabs. Lien agreement, texts, group chat, bank transfers. Then I emailed Carla. I will attend the dinner, but I will not sign any release tonight. Please do not represent to anyone that I have agreed to waive my claim. I didn't go there to scream. I went there to make sure nobody could call the truth a mood swing. The birthday dinner was in a rented church hall with folding tables, disposable tablecloths, grocery store flowers in plastic vases, and a sheet cake with pink frosting roses. My mom loved that kind of thing because it looked humble enough to be tasteful but big enough to impress relatives. There were framed family photos on a table near the entrance. Madison was in most of them, smiling beside my parents, holding flowers, standing in front of the property like she had built it with her bare hands. I was in one photo near the edge, half-turned because someone had clearly called my name at the last second. Near the dessert table, I noticed a small stack of folders and a pen set. Carla was already there, standing off to the side with a polite, professional smile. She gave me a small nod. I nodded back. Madison saw me and immediately came over with Tyler beside her. "Jasmine," she said brightly like there were cameras rolling. "You came." I was invited. Tyler gave me a cautious smile. "Good to see you." He seemed nervous, though I couldn't tell if it was because he knew anything or because Madison had warned him I might cause trouble. He was always polite to me, but distant in the way people are when they've only heard the edited version. My mom appeared behind Madison. "You look nice," she said, which in her language meant she had been expecting me to show up looking like a problem. Then she leaned closer. "Tonight is not about your feelings." I smiled a little. "Then it should be easy not to mention me." Her mouth tightened. My dad was near the coffee urn telling some uncle that Madison had really taken charge of the property situation. When he saw me, he lifted his cup. "Well, look who made it," he said. "No storm clouds yet." A couple of people chuckled. Not loudly. Just enough. I put my folder under my chair and sat where my mother had assigned me, 2 tables away from Madison, who was placed near the front like she was the guest of honor at her own coronation. For the first half hour I watched. Madison worked the room beautifully. She hugged Aunt Denise, complimented someone's casserole, touched Tyler's arm at all the right moments and said things like, "We just want to keep the property in the family the right way." My mom kept beaming at her. My dad kept glancing toward me like he was waiting for me to combust. I ate a few bites of dry chicken and listened to relatives talk around me. A cousin asked if I had been keeping busy. Another said it was nice that I could make it. That was family code for, "We heard you were going to be difficult." After dinner, my mom stood up with her glass of iced tea. The room quieted. She started normally enough. She thanked everyone for coming. She made a joke about turning 60. She talked about family and faith and legacy. Then her voice shifted into that trembling, emotional tone she used when she wanted to say something cruel, and have everyone call it heartfelt. As I look around this room, she said, I'm reminded of who has truly shown up for this family. Madison has always understood what it means to give back, to protect what matters, and to think beyond herself. Madison lowered her eyes modestly. Tyler looked at her, then down at the table. My mother continued. Some people only show up when they want something or when paperwork needs signing. But Madison has been a blessing. My ears rang, but I stayed still. Then my dad laughed and lifted his glass. Come on, Linda, don't be subtle. Jasmine only shows up when there's a document and a spotlight. A few people laughed awkwardly. Aunt Denise didn't. She looked at me, then at the folder by my feet. Madison gave a soft little sigh, loud enough for her table to hear. I just wish Jasmine could be happy for me once. That was the moment I stopped feeling nervous. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. There is a specific kind of humiliation that happens when people lie about you in a room full of people who have already decided you are guilty. But there was also relief in it. I hadn't brought it up. They had. Carla, who had been standing near the dessert table, stepped forward slightly. I'm sorry, she said carefully. Before any documents are discussed or signed, I need to clarify something. My mother froze. Madison's head snapped toward her. Carla, not now. Carla kept her voice even. My records show Jasmine is the person listed on the tax lien payoff and reimbursement agreement. The room went quiet in a way I had never heard at a family event. Even the kids by the cake table stopped moving around. My dad set his cup down too hard. That's family business. Carla looked at him, still calm. It becomes relevant if a release is being requested tonight. My mother's face changed first. The color drained out of it, then came back in blotches. Madison's smile disappeared. Tyler looked at Madison. What tax lien? Madison whispered. It's complicated. I reached under my chair and picked up the folder. My mom's eyes widened. Jasmine, don't. I stood, not quickly, not dramatically. Just enough so people could see me. You all wanted witnesses, I said. Now we have them. My dad muttered. Here we go. No, I said. Not here we go. Not this time. I opened the folder and placed the first document on the nearest table. This is the county tax lien payoff confirmation. I paid it. I placed the second document beside it. This is the wire confirmation, with my private account information redacted. My mom said, You don't need to show everyone. You raised a toast about who gives back to this family, I said. I'm answering. The room stayed silent. I placed the reimbursement agreement down. This is the agreement Dad signed acknowledging I would be reimbursed before any transfer. My dad's face went red. You're making this bigger than it is. You signed it. That doesn't mean. It means you knew. Aunt Denise stood up and walked closer. She picked up the agreement and looked at the signature. Her mouth tightened. Madison let out a shaky laugh. This is insane. She brought a whole folder to Mom's birthday. Do you see what I mean? I looked at her. I brought proof because you've been telling people I never contributed a dime. That's out of context. Which part? She looked around, searching for someone to rescue her. No one moved. I placed my mother's texts on the table next. This is Mom asking me not to tell Aunt Denise because Dad would be humiliated. Aunt Denise looked up sharply. Linda. My mom's eyes filled with tears, but it wasn't the kind of crying that came from remorse. It was the kind that came from being seen. I was trying to protect the family, she said. No, I said. You were protecting the story. Then I placed Madison's message transcript down. Tyler stepped forward before Madison could grab it. What is that? He asked. Madison said quickly, It's private. I looked at Tyler. It's Madison asking me not to let you find out she used the tax money that was supposed to go toward the property. His face went blank. Madison, he said. What tax money? She shook her head. I didn't use it like that. I borrowed it. I was going to replace it. You told me Jasmine was blocking the transfer because she wanted attention. Madison's eyes flashed at me. You didn't have to humiliate me. You told people I was trying to steal a house I paid to keep from being lost. It's more complicated than that. It was complicated when I was quiet, I said. It's very simple now. My dad pushed back his chair. So now you own the family? I turned to him. No. I'm not asking to own anything. I'm asking you to stop lying about what I paid and stop trying to pressure me into signing away my claim in front of relatives. He scoffed. You always need a document and a spotlight. You brought the attorney. His mouth closed. My mother wiped her face with a napkin. After everything this family has been through, you choose tonight? I looked at her glass, still sitting on the table from her toast. You chose tonight, I said. You chose the audience. You chose the speech. You chose to call me selfish in a room where you planned to use that shame to get my signature. For once, my mother had no answer ready. Carla stepped in then, and her voice was calm enough to make the whole thing feel even worse for my family. I cannot notarize a release under these circumstances, she said. Jasmine has clearly not consented to waive her claim. This appears to be a legal dispute, not a routine family signature. I recommend everyone pause and obtain independent advice. My dad glared at her. We didn't ask you to take sides. I'm not taking sides, Carla said. I'm stating what I can and cannot do. Madison's face crumpled, but her eyes stayed hard. I just wanted one night where we could be happy. I almost laughed again, but I didn't. No, Madison. You wanted one night where I'd be too embarrassed to say no. Tyler stepped away from her, not far, but enough that people noticed. Aunt Denise was still holding my mother's texts. She looked at me and said quietly, Jasmine, I didn't know. I know, I said. That was the point. One cousin who had laughed earlier stared at his plate. Another whispered something to his wife. A few people suddenly became very interested in cleaning up napkins that did not need cleaning. My mother reached for my arm. Can we talk privately? I stepped back. No. Her face hardened through the tears. So you're just going to shame us in front of everyone? You were comfortable shaming me in front of everyone. That's different. Only because you thought I wouldn't answer. My dad said, You're really going to do this over money? I looked at him for a long second. You don't get to call me the family embarrassment while standing on the life I paid to keep from falling apart. That line landed harder than I expected. Maybe because it wasn't rehearsed. Maybe because it was the first thing I'd said all night that sounded as tired as I felt. Nobody interrupted. I picked up the original documents and left the copies on the table. I am not signing anything tonight, I said. I am not discussing legal paperwork privately. Any future communication about the property can be handled via email, and will go through my attorney once I have one. Madison crossed her arms. Of course. Punish everyone. I'm done paying bills connected to that property, I said. No taxes. No fees. No insurance gaps. No emergency transfers. If the family wants to preserve a legacy, the family can fund it honestly. My mother whispered, Jasmine, please. That one almost got me. Not because I believed her, but because some part of me still remembered being younger and wanting my mother's voice to mean safety instead of obligation. I looked at her and said, I paid it because you said the family would lose the house. Then you let them call me greedy. She looked away. That was enough. I closed my folder, picked up my purse and walked toward the exit. Madison called my name once, sharp and panicked. My dad said something under his breath. My mom started crying harder. I didn't turn around. For the first time, leaving didn't feel like losing my place in the family. It felt like finding the door. The aftermath was not clean or instant. Real family fallout usually isn't. That night, my phone lit up all the way home. My mom called 6 times. My dad texted, You went too far. Madison sent a paragraph before I even got my shoes off. You ruined Mom's birthday. You ruined my future. You made Tyler look at me like I'm some kind of liar. I hope you're proud of yourself. I read it once, saved it, and didn't answer. The next morning, I had 3 voicemails from my mother. The first one was crying. I don't understand how you could do that to me on my birthday. The second was angry. You embarrassed your father in front of everyone. You know how proud he is. The third was softer, which somehow felt worse. Your sister has worked so hard, Jasmine. Why do you always need to keep score? Not one voicemail said, We lied. Not one said, "We should have told the truth." Not one said, "Thank you for paying the lien when we were desperate." My dad sent one message, "You happy now?" I didn't respond to that either. Carla emailed 2 days later to confirm that no transfer documents would move forward without resolving my claim, and that all parties should seek independent legal advice. Her email was short, professional, and exactly what I needed. I forwarded it to a lawyer I contacted that week. Madison's perfect story started cracking almost immediately. Tyler didn't break off the engagement right away, and I don't know what will happen with them long term. That isn't my business. But Aunt Denise later told me he postponed wedding planning and asked Madison for full financial transparency before moving forward. Madison apparently called that punitive and said he was making her feel unsafe. Aunt Denise said, "He just kept asking what else she hadn't told him." Some relatives apologized. Not dramatically. Not in a way that fixed anything. One cousin texted, "I shouldn't have believed everything I heard." Aunt Denise called and said she was sorry for repeating things without asking me. I accepted her apology, but I didn't comfort her guilt. She had to sit with it. Other relatives said nothing, which honestly told me plenty. My parents tried switching tactics. When guilt didn't work, they tried practicality. Mom texted, "The insurance bill is due next week. We need to talk like adults." I replied, "I will not pay property-related expenses. Legal matters can go through my attorney." Dad texted, "So you're abandoning your own family?" I replied, "No. I'm ending my role as the cover story." Madison sent voice messages I did not play. Then she sent screenshots of quotes about forgiveness, which was rich coming from someone who had never admitted what she did. Then she wrote, "You've always hated that Mom and Dad trusted me." I typed 3 different responses and deleted all of them. Finally, I wrote, "You used money meant for the property taxes, let me pay the lien," then told people I contributed nothing. "I will not discuss this privately." She responded, "You're projecting." I blocked her for a week just to breathe. The family group chat got ugly. Apparently, after the dinner, people started asking questions. Madison tried to explain that she had temporarily reallocated funds. My dad said everyone was making a big deal out of old paperwork. My mom kept saying she only wanted peace for her birthday. Aunt Denise sent me a screenshot where one uncle wrote, "Then why was Jasmine told to bring ID for the notary?" Nobody answered him. Eventually, someone added me back into the chat, probably hoping I would defend myself and give them something new to twist. I sent one message. "Do not contact me for money, signatures, or cover stories. Any legal matter can go through my attorney." Then I left the chat. My mother came by once without warning. I didn't open the door. She stood outside for about 5 minutes and called me from the porch. I answered because I wanted to be clear. "Jasmine," she said, her voice tight, "I am your mother." "I know. You don't just shut out your mother. You don't get access to me because of your title while using that access to manipulate me." She was quiet. Then she said, "I made mistakes." It was the closest she had come to an apology, but I had known my mother long enough to hear the missing words. "What mistakes?" I asked. She exhaled sharply. "Why do you need to drag every detail out?" "Because vague guilt is how you avoid responsibility." She started crying again. "I can't talk to you when you're like this." "Okay." I hung up. That would have wrecked me 5 years ago. I would have called back. I would have tried to explain my tone. I would have apologized for sounding harsh while nobody apologized for what they did. This time I put the phone down and made dinner. The property transfer is paused now. Maybe it will be renegotiated. Maybe my parents will find a way to reimburse me. Maybe they won't, and it will drag out longer than it should. I'm not pretending the legal side is magically solved just because I told the truth in a church hall. But the old arrangement is over. I am not paying another bill to protect a family image that requires me to be the villain. I am not signing a release so Madison can accept applause for a responsibility she never showed. I am not meeting privately so my parents can later claim I agreed to things I never agreed to. Everything goes through email now. Everything important goes through my lawyer. Every call I don't answer feels like a muscle I should have built years ago. I didn't enjoy embarrassing them. I know people love to imagine moments like that as pure revenge, like I walked out glowing while everyone who hurt me collapsed behind me. It wasn't like that. I cried in my car for 10 minutes before I drove home. I hated that my mother's birthday became the night everyone learned the truth. I hated that Tyler found out in front of relatives. I hated that Aunt Denise looked ashamed because she had been used and had allowed herself to be used. But I also know this. They chose a public lie because they thought my silence was guaranteed. For years I protected their image and the cost was my own name. They called me difficult because I asked questions. They called me selfish because I kept receipts. They called me jealous because admitting Madison had caused the crisis would have ruined the version of the family they preferred. Maybe I could have protected their image one more time. But protecting their image had already cost me years of my own. So I told the truth in the same room where they tried to bury me under their lies, and I walked out before they could hand me another shovel. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.